So for me to be genuinely interested in what they're doing at Cadillac says a lot.
Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. I'm Doug Stewart, digital executive producer for Fox 61 in Hartford. And this is my friend Glenn Packman, who is a real estate appraiser, a comedy genius, an interior designer, and all-around good guy. Good guy. That's what I wanted to say. Um, Glenn, I wanted to call this episode the Cadillac Renaissance.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. Although that doesn't fit with their current naming conventions, it could be one
True.
of their names of the next models.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a lot going on in Cadillac land, and a
Yes.
lot of it is really good news. Um,
Absolutely.
Cadillac getting into Formula One racing in a big way. In a big way. They will have their own engine, and this market, for the Formula One fans are upper income, I mean, the fans are all different income levels, but the people who are going to the races are, top level, to pay for the tickets anyway.
Right.
To be clear, it's not NASCAR. And it's a worldwide platform that draws the wealthiest spectators, um, and on television and streaming. And it kind of reminds me of Buick sponsoring, it seemed like every golf tournament in,
Mm.
in the 1980s and 90s.
Yeah.
Um, so you have that. You have the Celestic or Celestique, or whatever you want to call it, which
Hmm.
is finally being rolled out to customers. I think they're only making 25 or so this year, but it's getting there, and it's a positive customer experience, and they're playing in that space. And I think
Right.
they're probably sitting there saying, "We don't care what we lose on it. It's going to be a prestige item." They're selling a ton of EVs
Hmm.
uh, at all price points. In a minute, what are you thinking about Cadillac?
Well, I I'd never really been that interested in Cadillac as a brand, basically because of what Cadillac represented when I was younger. I
Hmm.
mean, Cadillac was a big boatsy car that people spent way too much money on just so they had the name Cadillac, and I never gravitated towards them. The look, the general feel that they were putting out turned me off to Cadillac for years and years and years. And it would have been we talked recently about, tell me about a car that you don't care about. Years ago, that would have been Cadillac. So for me to be genuinely interested in what they're doing at Cadillac says a lot. Now, okay, I have gone past my 60th birthday, so maybe that comes hand in hand, but you know the kind of car that I like, and it's typically not a Cadillac. They are making a slew of cars that I would put in my garage right now. They're not named well, but I would still put them in my garage. I saw CT5, saw one on the road the other day, and thought this is uh, this is competition for Acura's TLX, the bigger one
Uh,
and better looking car. It just
It's not
seemed
the R. That might be the RLX.
RLX. Oh gosh, too many letters, people. Too many
Right.
letters. Either
The
way, they're
bigger of
larger
the two
sedan.
Acuras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just saw one on the road and just said, "Oh my God, what a sharp car." Um,
Mhm.
Recently, we talked about if we could just blow our money and my everyday go-to car, if I was going to buy one right now and I didn't have to worry about money, would be the Optic, which is the
Mhm.
right size car and an electric and really looks dynamite. I finally saw one up close and I was not disappointed. It
Mm.
just is a and this is coming from Cadillac. I guess maybe my mind has been opened up because of my whole renaissance with Buick as a line. Because Buick is also doing cars that are interesting all of a sudden. And good on GM. They're
Mhm.
listening to people and they're putting out products that make people go, wait, what?
And,
And
and and and value It's
Yeah,
it's got that.
absolutely.
I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. It's got value. Uh,
Right.
to quickly point to Acura makes two sedans, an Integra and a TLX, and the rest are various permutations of SUVs,
Right.
including one that's an electric. But my understanding is that they're winding down production of the TLX
Are
in
they?
any case.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sharp
But I'm
car.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sharp car, but if someone said that one or the Caddy, I'd go for the Caddy. Wow, what a nice looking car. The Lyric, super nice looking. Every time I see one on the road, I just comment to myself on how nice looking a vehicle it is and really
And
received.
the sales of the Lyric have tripled from when it first went on sale.
Yeah,
And Cadillac overall has had a nearly 9% increase in sales.
that's fantastic. Good on them. They and what you're talking about Formula One, all I can picture is a bunch of stuffy old business types at GM going, we need to change Cadillac's image and its point of view and get people more interested. And somebody goes, how about if we do Formula One? And they go, well, we don't want to change the image and the point of view. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they're obviously thinking about these things. Not your grandfather's Cadillac is so very, very true now. And the fact that they're courting me and I'm like the last buyer in the world that should be interested in a Cadillac, and I'm totally interested in Cadillac as a line. So I guess I'm just one person, but maybe I'm more than just one person speaking here too. So yeah.
They have the Optic, the
Mhm.
Lyric, the Vistic, the Escalade IQ. That's for EVs.
Mhm.
And the Escalade IQ comes in two different flavors, the shorter wheelbase and the longer wheelbase. And then you have internal combustion engines, XT4, XT5, some of which they're not selling anymore, they're not making anymore.
Right.
XT6, which I think they stopped making and started again. And honestly, I love that's the Acadia
Mhm.
platform.
Mhm.
I like the looks of that. I see one of those
Uh,
coming up like, yeah. Um,
of all of the GM iterations of that platform, I think the Caddy knocks it out of the park, and that's
yeah,
that's ahead of the Buick, and that would be the Envista from Buick,
right.
which is really sharp. The
Was it
Cadillac,
an Enclave? I think
the
it might be
Enclave,
an
the
Enclave.
Enclave, the
Yeah,
Enclave. The
yeah,
Envista is sorry, the Envista is the little one. What am I thinking?
right. Yeah.
Um, and so what's the one in the middle?
No,
Uh,
the Invista is in the middle, and then Encore. Yours is the next one down, and then the regular Encore is the next one down.
Right. They're not making the regular
Smallest.
Encore anymore. What's the little
Okay.
one that's based on the tracks? God, now I'm all confused. That's
I
the
think
Invicta.
that's yours. Oh, I know.
Yeah. I think that's the Invista. Oh God.
Well,
Well, I'll
how
look
about
it
this?
up.
How about this? Why don't we take a break? We'll figure it out,
Thank
and
you.
we'll come back. And we're back, and Glenn has answered our Buick question.
Yes.
Glenn,
The Invista is based off the Trax platform and is that swoopy hatchback that looks like the Urus from Europe. It has that sort of vibe. By the way, an altogether sharp car. We don't see a lot of them here in Connecticut, but I was down in
no,
Delaware recently, and they're everywhere down there, and with good reason.
yeah,
Great car at a great price, and
great
it's
value.
yeah, great value. The Encore GX, my car, of course. The Envision is the one that's the next size up, so sort of middle-sized one, made in China, by the way. And then lastly, there's the Enclave, made in the US. So,
I kind of got stuck in the middle, but after the ST6, there's the Escalade in the shorter and longer version,
right.
the CT4 and the
Mhm.
CT5, and some of them, so they have the V series of a lot of these. The Optic will have a V series soon. The Lyric will also have a V series. Obviously, the CT4, the CT5 had V series black wings, which are on my lottery car list. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think they have a nice broad range of cars.
Mhm.
They got the looks. Good for them. you
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
and I've said this before, they know what they are. They know
Right.
what they are, and and I don't think they're looking at anyone else. And it's been a long road. It's been at least 20 years, more than that probably, since that first art and science design.
Hmm.
That all those kind of cringeworthy cars of the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. I still laugh at the, Cadillac style ads.
The only way to travel is Cadillac style. Some people want more, but not just a little bit. But this is your life, and you're the only one who's living it. But let's go, let's love every mile. The only way to travel is Cadillac style. Some people want more, but not just a little bit. This is your life, and you're the only one who's living it. Well, let's go, let's love every mile. The only way to travel is Cadillac style. Cadillac style.
They figured it out.
Hmm.
Good
Right.
on them. Good on them.
I, I remember distinctly a neighbor of ours that had the big boatsy Cadillac. It
Mhm.
was sedan, but the hood was about 35 feet in length, and then the trunk was about 40, and then it was one of those gargantuan cars. And she
Yeah.
used to get a kick out of driving it with one finger. She used to turn the steering wheel with one finger, and it was like that's not a good thing. That,
No,
she thought that that
no,
was the bomb, and I'm like, that is over assisted power steering. And they were boatsy, and they just, and never
no.
ever ever my kind of car. And now their entire lineup is appealing to me. I'm not a big fan of the Celestiq or Celestiq. I think they really need to call it the Celestiq because Celestiq sounds weird. But anyways, I jokingly in a previous podcast called that a hearse from the Jetsons because it's so long.
Well,
Um, it's not my
if
favorite.
there's a market,
Yeah,
if it sort of stands out there as being this class leading image making,
right, right,
EV that flies in the same at the same altitude as that top end Rolls Royce. Okay,
sure,
you
sure.
know
And
you're not
it,
you're not betting the farm on it,
right,
right? And I guess that was
exactly,
my
exactly.
that was my initial concern about it when we talked about it years ago, because
Yep,
I said who's the market for? Well, if you only got to sell 25 of them, and they're
right,
a loss,
right,
probably a loss leader, and they're just an image making car, have at
right,
it, have
right.
at it. I don't know if I sent this to you, Glenn, but earlier this week, and we're recording this on the 15th, they came out with another one of their concept cars. And now I
Yes.
know that you are not a fan of the Soleil, which was a custom built off of the Celestic platform, and you had thoughts. But anyway, so they have this new high-tech Cadillac elevated velocity EV concept. And it's just a concept. They're being very clear, it's just a concept.
Right.
But it's a lifted EV
Hmm.
with gullwing doors. It's uh, got the uh, big wheels. It's kind of inspired by the Dakar,
Hmm.
rally. So that same space that the Porsche 911 Dakar model is sitting in. Um, and also inspired by desert polo, which a lot of people apparently didn't know was a sport.
Right.
One of the things, and you can do this in a concept vehicle, is a bespoke, kit
Hmm.
for polo, gloves, a ball, a polo ball. I don't know if you call it a polo ball, but whatever. The ball, all the stuff, right? beautiful interior is a beautiful red. It's got some
Mhm.
advanced filtration system, which if you're going to be taking it off-road, you're kind of probably going to want a filtration system. Now, it to me, it sort of says, okay, this is the next step in our evolving uh, design language,
Mhm.
and I'm fine. That it just was really interesting. I kind of got a laugh out of it. Did you get a chance to look at it?
I did. And yeah, I mean it's clearly a concept car. I don't know how it, seriously it's meant to be taken like most concept cars. But there were certain lines of the car, certain angles where I was like, that's really kind of sharp. The big wheels are a little bit too big. I I just hated the interior. It I don't know. I looked at the interior and I said, well, that kind of looks like a brothel to me. I don't know. All that red fabric everywhere. You better have filtration. It's like they covered every last bit of everything with the red fabric. And it was an ocean of red fabric inside. It was a little weird, but it's a concept car, so I'm not going to bash it too much.
That
But
that
I
that
like,
that huh, that harkens back to those red velour
yes, yeah.
beasts in the 80s.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, there's the inspiration. But at least I like that they're having fun with it. And like I said, if they can take some of the styling cues and move it forward, that's great. I seem to remember another GM division, maybe Buick, that had the Wildcat, which was
yeah,
a just a prototype, and
yeah,
they stole all sorts of stuff and shook up their line. And now
yeah,
boom, it looks great,
yeah, yeah.
good on them. So, and that's the idea is, so have fun with some stuff and then take a look at it and go, what works here? What can we actually incorporate, and you keep moving forward as an automaker. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I liked it. It I don't think it's not
no,
I'm not the demographic,
right.
but
Well, I
I
don't play
thought
Desert Polo either. So, I mean,
yeah, as a something to say this is where we're aiming for. Okay,
sure.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah, you go back to like the Saber.
Mhm.
It was just these beautiful, evocative designs that really just, that no one else was doing. And,
Right, right,
and it set the stage for what they've done since and what other car manufacturers, and different car manufacturers take their um concept cars more seriously than others. Like
sure.
Honda might call them a concept car, but that's really what's coming to the market.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing. So, but yeah, so a little crazy, sure, but that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Um, it's not going to be anything that's going to be mass marketed, but like I said, they are going to be looking at this hopefully and saying what works here, what doesn't, and
And I
oh,
would okay, so I think we've established that one of our favorite episodes was the one where we talked about the Chrysler Halcyon.
yeah,
I'd give this a lot more space
for
than the
sure.
Halcyon.
A
You
thousand
know,
times over. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
it's, I mean, if they wanted to, outside of those doors, they could
Mhm.
come, they wouldn't take them very long to get this on the market, you know?
Correct. Right. Right. And
And
that's good
that's the,
because
yeah, and that's the
it's
also
that
the
threat
beauty of,
reality. Yeah.
right. And it's also the beauty of the EV platforms is that just kind of has a skateboard aspect to it.
Mhm.
And then they can just put different hats on it. All
Right.
right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back after this. All right, we're back talking about Cadillac and Cadillac's Renaissance. Um, Glenn, what was the first of the new design Cadillacs that you noticed?
Uh, the first one that I went, wait a second, that's a Cadillac? Um, I'm gonna say it was probably the XT4, and that's because that is in the size that appeals to me as a car buyer the most. That
Mhm.
I am the smaller car guy. I don't gravitate towards big cars. And saw one out on the road and thought, that is a nice looking small SUV. Wait, what?
Mhm.
And that was the one that just made me kind of want to stop and take a look at Cadillac. I'm gonna no, I'm gonna take that back. When they started coming out with the very chiseled sedans,
The
this
art of science.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that was a couple years ago. That's when I went,
Yeah, that's
I
from
wasn't,
like 20 years ago.
yeah, yeah, I wasn't enamored, but I was like, now that's kind of interesting, and I got the look. I got where they were going with it. And I think they have progressed with that look beautifully to the point where the cars that are the descendants of that original design now are really just 100% A plus beautiful looking cars. And a
Mhm.
Cadillac has to be a beautiful looking car. It has to.
Mhm.
And I've never felt that the big boatsy Cadillacs were anything of beauty. They were just big, you know. And I was like, oh, who cares if it's pretty? It's just huge, you know.
Mhm.
I don't care that, you know, the food here is terrible, but at least they give you huge portions, you know. Not my kind of car.
Um,
So, but yeah, and then for the people that review cars to come along and put these cars at the top of a heap when comparing them with Audi and comparing them with BMW. That is that's saying a lot. So they've been working hard at this. They have to have been. And
car reviewers will tell you that Cadillac's ride and handling are world class.
yeah.
And I think the only thing that they ding that CT4, CT5, you know, those cars for is kind of the interior is a little cheap.
Yeah.
And okay, I think those are valid criticisms. But I've for a long time, their naming convention. I don't, but
Yeah.
there's always been. I think it was at one point the CTS, the ATS, and the STS. I could be totally wrong on that, but when they first came out with that ATS, I think it was the small like 3 Series killer. I mean, that was sharp.
Right. Right.
There's some of them that go back, like there's a couple like in the 90s, like what at some point was the Seville, but I think became the STS.
Hmm.
Um, I always thought I was a good looking car, that it was clean. And that's where they got me is like once they started coming out with a really clean design and it didn't have a lot of chrome and it
Hmm.
didn't have some sort of wire wheels, and nothing's wrong with wire wheels because I think that's a classic 80s thing. um I think that that's where you do. And you talk about your neighbor, our next door neighbor growing up had a 61 and a 65.
Hmm.
The 61 was silver four-door sedan, which I thought was the coolest thing, that the rear vent windows were power. I don't.
Why
I
not?
may be wrong on that, but like that, I seem to remember like maybe they went first and then the window went down. I don't know, but
Right.
my college roommate Steve Brown from WBUR has a 61 convertible that his father owned, um, and very often is featured on Facebook. Uh, and for what those cars are, yes, it's not the car I would buy. But
Mhm.
once you start getting into the 60s and they tone themselves down,
Yeah.
I think they're a lot better looking, and they're much more, you know, but they sold tons and
Sure.
tons of them. The other thing, here's the fascinating thing, and I don't know if this makes sense, but I was thinking about what what car design that people like, and I this is my theory, and I have to test it out. Is I think that people like car design from the point where they were born going forward. And they're less likely to like things that were designed before they were born. I don't know if that bears any sort of, you know, validity, but when I think about, like, I was born in 59, and like I like the 1960s cars, I like,
Mhm.
and stuff like that going afterwards. And I have, there's certain 50s cars that I like. But anyway, that's neither
Yeah,
here nor there.
think there's some validity to that. For me, the cars from, I was born in '62, so the cars before then are very piecemeal. One here, one there.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
I like that. But in general, I'm gonna modify that and say that for me, it was the top from the time that I really truly discovered
Mhm,
cars and moving forward, and that would have been the early '70s.
mhm.
Was
Yep,
when I first started to notice automobiles. So um,
yeah,
our
yeah.
neighbor with this, their caddy had it was shades of green with a Landau roof. I mean, yeah, this was 1973 in a nutshell. It was just how tacky can we make something? It was a
Ladies
leisure.
and gentlemen, I give you the 1970s.
Exactly. It was kind of the leisure suit of
Yeah,
automobiles. There you go. Say that
yeah,
10 times fast.
yeah,
But
yeah.
as for modern day, I'm finally very, very, very interested in Cadillac as a mark. So it's a good question.
Mhm.
Yeah, they've turned their image around.
Yep.
That's the only explanation, and really bravo to them. So Cadillac, if you're listening, I'll give you one of those. So,
Like fiscal Ebert, two thumbs up.
two thumbs up, absolutely.
All right. We're gonna land the plane for this week. Um, it's been fun, Glenn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can watch us on YouTube, the
Mhm.
Car-Pinionated playlist, and we will see you again next week.